part of the Clinton method, which is say what you need to say at any given moment and rely on the lack of memory of the American public and the support of the mainstream media to support that lack of memory.
You know, a lot of people ask me, do we have to go through all these old Clinton scandals again? Well, I have good news for you. You don't, because you can look at the new ones, because Hillary Clinton's scandals are a gift that keeps on giving.
They wrote a check where I told them to write it, the Senate 2000 from the invitation they received, and then I reimbursed them either 1 or 2,000, depending if 1 or 2 people came. I told her National Finance Director David Rosen, and he just said, don't tell me anything like that. And I told the FBI.
Is it possible that the senator from New York and former First Lady, the most experienced of all the candidates, was completely unaware of her finance director's dealings? Peter Paul awaits sentencing for securities fraud. He vows to spend the rest of his life trying to expose what he characterizes as Hillary's chronic pattern of corruption.
Well, I think that, like William Safire said in the New York Times, Hillary's a congenital liar. Even David Geffen, who was a supporter of hers, commented on her facility with lying. So if she can do this as publicly and in such a gross and unvarnished way, then imagine if she got additional power in the White House and what she would do with that. I can't think of any other politician in history who has shown such a disrespect and a contempt for the Constitution and the rule of law as Hillary. And I represented Richard Nixon's best friend, and I knew Richard Nixon. And I'll tell you something, she's no Richard Nixon, she's worse.
In both Little Rock and Washington, D.C., she was plagued by numerous scandals.
I finally parted company with Hillary Clinton when I saw how she was using private detectives to investigate the women who were linked to her husband. Not to change him, not to reform him, not to make him a better person, but to cow the women into silence so that he could get elected president. I do not want that woman controlling the IRS or the DEA or the NSA or the FBI or the CIA. Not in a democracy, I don't.
One thing about Hillary, Bill was just a good timing guy. But Hillary, she's an animal. Hillary is the one that I promise you, she pulls the strings. She pulled them in Arkansas. She pulled them in the White House when she was there as the First Lady. And my God, if she gets to be president. I know nothing about the Bohemian Grove with Bill. I know about once a month, Hillary would go out to Los Angeles. And she did it so regular that it became a bit of an issue trying to, why is she always going? Bill told me that she was going out there, she and a group of women, and she would be a part of a witch's church. And man, when Bill told me that, you could have hit me with a baseball bat. I tried to point out to him, you realize what had happened if that got out? Of course, my job is to make sure it didn't get out. Now, I don't know today if Hillary still partakes in the witch ritual. I don't know that I even know what the ritual was. But for the better part of many years, Hillary would go quite often, whether it was regularly once a month or maybe once every couple of months. She would go out on a weekend simply to be a part of it.
I represented Wall Street as a senator from New York, and I went to Wall Street in December of 2007, before the big crash that we had, and I basically said, cut it out. Quit foreclosing on homes. Quit engaging in these kinds of speculative behaviors.
Now, who's exactly to blame for the housing crisis? I think there's plenty of blame to go around. Home buyers who paid extra fees to avoid documenting their income, should have known they were getting in over their heads.
Of course, we have to deal with the problem that the banks are still too big to fail. We can never let the American taxpayer and middle-class families ever have to bail out the kind of speculative behavior that we saw. But we also have to worry about some of the other players. AIG, a big insurance company, Lehman Brothers, an investment bank. There's this whole area called shadow banking. That's where the experts tell me the next potential problem could come from. So I'm with both Senator Sanders and Governor O'Malley in putting a lot of attention onto the banks. And the plan that I have put forward would actually empower regulators to break up big banks.
Going through the emails, there were over 60,000 in total sent and received. About half were work-related and went to the State Department, and about half were personal, that were not in any way related to my work.
When you speak to the public, you say, I turned over everything. That's, for the most part, a direct quote. When you talk to the public, you say, I turned over everything.
90 to 95% of my work-related emails were in the state system. If they wanted to see them, they would certainly have been able to do so.
You know what? That is maybe the 10th time you have cited that figure today.
It is.
And I have not heard anyone other than you ever cite that figure. Who told you that 90 to 95% of your emails were in the State Department system? Who told you that?
We learned that from the State Department in their analysis of the emails that were already on the system.
The Inspector General report found that less than 1% of State Department emails, record emails, were captured. So they give a number of less than 1%, and you give a number of 90%.
I have absolute confidence that everything that could be in any way connected to work is now in the possession of the State Department.
This pile represents the emails that you sent or received about Libya in 2011, from February through December of 2011. This pile represents the emails you sent or received from early 2012 until the day of the attack. There are 795 emails in this pile. We've counted them. There are 67 emails in this pile in 2012. And I'm troubled by what I see here. I can only conclude by your own records that there was a lack of interest in Libya in 2012.
The server contains personal communications from my husband and me.
Only time I got on the internet, I did 2 emails, and I ordered Christmas presents from a reservation. Otherwise, I found people said embarrassing things on emails. I didn't want to be one of them.
Now, this is something I found to be very disturbing regarding Hillary Clinton. Now, I saw this back in the 90s, yet I don't see anybody really talking about it today, and I think it's extremely relevant. The Clinton body count. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people have died around the Clintons. Just so happened to be the right people that sort of knew some information about them. Now, this isn't just a bunch of conspiracy theory, okay? What we're going to go over here is the rumor or the conspiracy theory of all this evidence that was actually put forth by a lawyer. And then we're going to actually look at the actual facts surrounding the events. And what you're going to find out is actually the facts surrounding the events is just way too uncanny. Okay? Now, this is called the Clinton body count. We'll go through the entire list and evaluate each one. But it is true that some of them have some connection with Bill Clinton or someone who was in Clinton's sphere. And many of them died violently or by suicide. A lot of them by suicide. Okay? So, you know, the rumor, of course, sounds slightly more sinister, but actually the truth ones sound pretty bad as well. James McDougall, Clinton's convicted Whitewater partner, died of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. He was a key witness in Ken Starr's investigation. and he started cooperating with the special prosecutor Kenneth Starr investigation of the Clintons. He was scheduled to give a damaging testimony against the Clintons, although critics of the investigation said his testimony had previously been inconsistent and that nothing new was expected to be revealed. A prison spokesman said McDougall died of a heart attack, had been suffering from heart disease and blocked arteries. Okay, so let's go to the second one here. Mary Mahoney, a former White House intern, was murdered in July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House. We know that Hillary Clinton was actually behind trying to get a lot of these women to shut up. Okay, that's something that's pretty well known. Now, that was the rumor. Okay, now here's the truth. Mary Mahoney was murdered on the 4th of July, 1997, at Starbucks near Washington, D.C. She was an assistant manager, and according to published reports, she and 2 other employees were working late at night after the coffee bar had closed. All 3 found shot to death. No money was taken. There was no sign of forced entry. In 1999, Carl Cooper was charged with the murders, 6 armed robberies, and shootings. So, okay, how many times have you heard of just like 3 people being gunned down randomly for no reason without them being robbed? It just seems a little odd, you know what I mean? Okay, so let's go to the next one here. Vince Foster, former White House counselor and colleague of Hillary Clinton at Little Rock's Rose Law Firm, died of a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. You're going to learn as we go on. There's actually a few of these shot to the head suicide ones. Okay, the truth is Vince Foster was deputy White House counsel and Clinton's lawyer. He was found dead. Fort Marcy Park, July 20th, 1993. 3 investigations into Foster's death, including one by an independent counsel, Kenneth Starr, have concluded that the death was a suicide. Critics of the investigation said Foster's death does not fit the facts of a suicide. There are a lot of unanswered questions about his death, some of the activities of the White House after his body was found, and investigations themselves. Although there are numerous theories about what may have happened to Foster and why, none of them have been proven. So that was kind of up in the air, right? Ron Brown, Secretary of Commerce, former DNC chairman, reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. There's actually a few of these plane crashes. Just a lot of people dying in plane crashes and suicides and just all around the Clintons, okay? A pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of death, Brown was being investigated, spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. Jerry Parks was head of security for Clinton Gore Little Rock headquarters 1992. September 26, 1996, he was murdered down while driving through a Little Rock intersection. A lone gunman fired 7 shots at him. This was 2 months after Vince Foster's death. Both Parks' wife and son had said that they believed Parks was murdered, that he feared for his life. His murderer has never been solved. Gee, I wonder who it was. According to Jerry Parks' son, the files were on the sexual escapades of Bill Clinton. So, okay, just randomly some dude came down in the street and just like, oh, I'm going to just kill this dude. I'm going to just shoot him 7 times for no particular reason whatsoever. Has absolutely nothing to do with the Clintons, and the fact that this guy is building a dossier on all the sexual escapades of Bill Clinton has nothing to do with that, because it's so obvious that just random dudes go around shooting people 7 times in the chest while you're driving down the road. You know what I mean? Okay. If you believe that one, you're more crazy than me. Okay, let's just put it that way. According to investigative reporter Christopher Ruddy, the files that Parks had been keeping on the Clintons were taken during a burglary several weeks before Parks' death. Okay, well, gee, I wonder how that happened. Dude, who would want to steal those files? I don't know. Maybe Bill Clinton. Or maybe Hillary. You know, maybe Hillary, because a lot of people say that Hillary was the one that was really running what was going on there. Okay, I'm just a conspiracy theorist, but you tell me, what do you think? You going to just believe a bunch of bullcrap? That just for some reason some random dude just broke into their house and just stole some files, and just some other random dude just went around and gunned down a dude while he's driving down the road? Yeah, okay. I'm not the one wearing tinfoil here, okay? Homicide sergeant investigating murders for Little Rock Police told New York Times Magazine writer Philip Weiss that he didn't believe the theories of Park's son and wife, that he found no evidence for the alleged files. That money talks, man. That money talks. All right, here we go. E-rumor. James Bunch died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a black book of people which contained names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. Bill Clinton wouldn't visit prostitutes? Come on, man. What, are you kidding me? He's an upstanding dude.